This is the Falcon 9 space paper. It's their white paper, but with, for space. And already in the opening, introducing a decentralized and deflationary launchpad for early Shibarium investors. There is a lot packed into that title, a lot to get excited about. I'm not going to be able to get in depth with everything addressed in this document because it would take a long time, and as they're getting ready to have their first launch and complete their audit, I would imagine there are going to be updates, maybe a version 2 of this, and so best to wait for those updates before doing an in-depth analysis. But you can see here, we've got, if you're new to the project, we've got some information on how to, or we've got some places where you can get information. I'd say that the Telegram is the best place for instant, new, and fun interaction with the project, and then and then Twitter, and then for more codified material, you can go to the Medium or the website. But Telegram is really where the community's at. I want to note here that they call it the official launchpad, and that term can spark a lively philosophical debate on what counts as official, especially in the Shiba Inu community, or how one becomes official.
Touch your tongue to mine.
What?
Your tongue, touch it to mine.
Why?
To make it all official.
To make what official?
You know, all of it. Never mind then, we're off.
Without getting into the details on that, we'll set this aside and wait and see how things pan out. Second page. What is a launchpad? A launchpad, I would say, is a platform for projects looking to raise capital through the issuance of a token, by creating a coin. Not all launchpads are the same, but most will provide a basic service of evaluating a project, conducting some kind of base level due diligence on a project's feasibility and security, so that investors won't get rugged. And they will also, though, provide various levels of qualifying investors to the project. So they benefit both sides, obviously, and they're a very useful service to an ecosystem because it can help get new projects off the ground while still providing some level of evaluation and transparency for the market participants, both the early investors who participate in the pre-sale, but also anyone afterward buying. Once the IDO has been launched, they can come to trust the platforms that have reviewed these projects before making their investment. Now, the mechanics of the Falcon 9 Launchpad will be outlined later in this document, but it gives a summary on this page mentioning that it has its own token. And this token is a requirement and basis for various tier levels for participation in IDOs. We could put an asterisk next to it because there is an exception, I would say a narrow exception for SHIB holders, but generally speaking, you need the Falcon 9 token in order to participate. And in a bit of irony, but still nonetheless braggable, we see in bold 3 points under tokenomics, the no dev tokens, no pre-sales, no taxes. The irony is as far as the no dev tokens and no pre-sales and no taxes. This is in reference to Falcon 9 itself. This would not be in reference to IDOs on the platform because there might be dev tokens. When there's an IDO on the Falcon 9 platform, it's almost certainly not going to be all the tokens that will be available for pre-sale, but Falcon 9 wasn't launched on a launch pad. It was stealth launched, and there were no tokens reserved for developers. There were no early investors who participated in a pre-sale, and there are no taxes when you buy and sell Falcon 9. It really is a community-oriented structure that they chose when they created this platform. While there is a team, so it's not, there's going to be an element of centralization, just like there is a team behind Shiba Inu. It's still clear that there's an emphasis on community and decentralization. Page 3. This page elaborates a little more on the history of how the project was stealth launched and the circumstances around it. It also elaborates on how the project draws inspiration from the symbolism of Falcon 9. I won't get into that here, but this is where you can read a little more about that history and context. On page 4, continuing our rolling introduction, it states that Falcon 9 will begin on Ethereum, but migrate to the Shiba Inu Layer 2 network, the Shibarium, which will still run on top of Ethereum, but have significantly lower transaction fees. They do make a few claims here that might make a lawyer squirm a little, where they say that all projects will be safe and rug-proof, and obviously those terms are ambiguous enough to make it impossible to fulfill on that promise. But for me, this speaks to the passion and priority the community and the team have for focusing on building excellent projects and creating systems to help protect investors, and really putting a focus on doing things right and taking precautions. Here in the mechanics, and I can just read this verbatim, an initial decentralized offering is an event where a project launches a token via decentralized liquidity exchange. By default, there will be no KYC, and that's know your customer requirements. That's just by default, because individual projects may differ. So that means that there may be some IDOs where they're going to want to have documentation of the identity of the investors in order to qualify for the IDO. But by default, that's not required. Prior to an IDO, they're going to announce a window of time within which F9 stakers can register in order to participate. So here are the steps. You have to have some Falcon 9, and you have to have enough for at least one tier level, for whatever tier level you're looking to get into, and you stake them on their platform. It says 90% of the IDO supply will be allocated for F9 stakers. And then there's another, approximately 10%. They're sticking with I like the 9 branding at 9.99% for SHIB stakers in separate pools. So you're going to stake your F9 on their platform. Then you're going to register. Prior to the IDO, they're going to announce a window where stakers can register in order to participate. And at the completion of that registration window, the allocation for each tier will be calculated based on the number of participants that have registered. And at the time of registration, your F9 tokens are going to be locked for 7 days if you choose to participate in the IDO. In order for them to know exactly how to allocate the tokens in the IDO, they first need to know how many people are going to register. And so that's basically what that's saying. And then finding your allocation, they're going to announce a sale window shortly after the close of the initial registration period. And registered sale participants must complete their purchase during this time. And I believe, I don't know why it doesn't say it explicitly here, but that's going to be in Ethereum. So the purchase of the tokens is denominated in Ethereum. And then any allocations that are left over can go into a first come, first served process that they'll have. And just to point out, so the reason why they can have this leftover allocation is because although there is a maximum amount each tier is allowed to purchase, they're not required to purchase the full amount. So you could be in a tier where you could purchase, say, 10,000 tokens, but you only want to purchase 2,000 you can just purchase 2,000, and then whatever's left over will go to the first come, first serve allocation purchase phase, post allocated purchase phase. All right, page 5, we have insurance, and they discuss a little bit of the vetting process, and this again is emphasizing their caution and desire to protect investors and really perform a service to the Shiba Inu community by assisting quality projects getting off the ground. Funds are seifu, right? They are as safe as the project can reasonably ensure them to be, based on their efforts they're taking to dot their I's and cross the T's. And again, they say this is among the top things that they take seriously. Otherwise, it's the endeavor is, they say, pointless. Otherwise, the endeavor is just risky, and it can be scammy. So projects are approved for launch on F9 only after being carefully selected through their vetting process. Vetting process is a negotiation between Falcon 9 and the applicant IDO to reach some reasonable and safe token distribution for the community of investors. And so with every IDO, the IDO project, the project wanting to launch, they're going to contribute 1% of the total raise to the insurance fund. It says the goal of the vetting process is to disqualify suspected scams and rugs before launch, but if for whatever reason there is a project failure post-vetting, they have an insurance treasury in place to compensate investors a portion of their lost funds. So standard vetting process: 1, liquidity is auto-locked at launch. 2, tokenomics investing schedule for individual projects will need to meet a criteria agreed upon with the F9 team in order to qualify to launch via the Falcon 9 platform. Afterwards, the token will be locked in a smart contract for a period of time, completely transparent to all investors. 3, the token generation event will have a distribution offered for the pre-sale plus initial liquidity, depending on how much the project launching wants to provide for the IDO. And then 4, 1% of the total ETH raised will go into the treasury, as we mentioned earlier, for insurance. And then also, this is really interesting, there is a separate 1% tax on ETH raised, and this is a tax on the launching project, not a tax on investors. 1% tax on ETH raised to be used for buybacks and burns, making a total of 2% minimum for any project launching on Falcon 9. So this is another great thing that they've added to their process, is that 1% of the total amount of ETH raised is going to be used to buy and burn the Falcon 9 token, which makes the Falcon 9 token a deflationary token. The more projects that are launched and the more money that is raised through these IDOs, the more Falcon 9 is burned. And then, with the law of supply and demand, theoretically, the price of Falcon 9 will go up as the supply diminishes. And again, another consequence of that could mean that getting to certain tier levels, which we're going to see soon, could cost more at their current at the current standards set to get into them. So, better to collect your Falcon 9 now while the price is lower, because it maximizes your chances of getting into a higher tier level to allow for greater participation in IDOs. Okay, page 6. Talk about staking. There is no need to unstake in between IDOs. As far as I'm aware, there aren't any farming rewards or any kind of interest earned while staking, but there's still, especially before Shibarium, there's still gas fees associated with staking and unstaking. And so if you think you're just going to continue to participate in IDO after IDO, you might as well leave the Falcon 9 staked. No need to unstake it in between launches. And then here's the introduction of the tiers. Launchpad contains different levels of tiers to fit a variety of investors. Find the different tier levels and amount of staked F9 required for each below. And what this means is these are the levels. Again, this I'm just trying to explain to anybody who doesn't really know how launchpads work. To be able to buy these tokens in a pre-sale, they want to qualify you at various levels, and that's done through the amount of Falcon 9 tokens you stake when you go to participate. And so the more you stake, obviously the more tokens you can buy in the pre-sale, the greater your allocation. And so the lowest level is the Terran Pleb, which is about 10,000 F9 tokens, and you get a 1x on the pool weight. Next level is Moonboy Oshi, about 100,000 F9 tokens with a 10x pool weight. And then there's the Martian Wojak, about 500,000 F9 tokens with a 50x pool weight. Galactic Chad, about 1 million F9 tokens with a 100x pool weight. And then finally, you have the Star-Lord VC, which requires exactly 4,206,969 F9 tokens with a 420x pool weight. And then they have a note here that says there's no incentive to stake anything additional to the tier level that you're looking to get into. So, for example, if you have 100,000 F9 or 450,000 F9 staked, either of those are going to qualify you for the Moonboy Oshi tier, because the next tier above is more than 450,000. So if you know what tier you want to be in, really you should only bother with staking the exact amount required. And then this is just same thing that we saw earlier with nice pictures. All right, page 8. Okay, this is probably one of the sections of the paper where you have to pay attention to the numbers to kind of understand how things work, especially if you're not familiar with it. I found it extremely helpful in understanding the process. They give an example of a project that wants to raise, or that is going to have a total supply of 10 billion tokens, and of those 10 billion tokens, they wish to sell 2 billion upon the launch on Falcon 9. And so they say, here's how the math would work within their IDO system. Now, one thing they don't mention here is, in this hypothetical, is how much ETH the project would like to raise, because that is going to determine price. So in this example, the amount of each token, the price for each token, rather, is not going to come into play. Just in case you're wondering about that. That was something that I noticed that confused me at first. It's just that because they don't mention in this hypothetical how much the project wanted to raise in ETH, you can't calculate how much each token would be at pre-sale for the investor to purchase. But that's fine. You can just make that up and add that in if you want to do that. But again, assuming that out of the 10 billion that they plan to have eventually, 10 billion that they plan to have, they want to sell 2 billion to raise their ETH on the Launchpad. How would that work out? So remember, they can't calculate the pool weight distribution until they know how many people are participating at each level. So they have the registration period, and after the registration period, you see that 500 signed up for Terran Pleb, 600 for Moonboy Oshi, 250 people staked their F9 to be Martian Wojak, 100 for the Galactic Chad, and 50 for the Star-Lord VC. So once they know the number of participants at each tier level, they can calculate the amount of shares for each tier level, which is pretty obvious to see here how they do that. And they take the number of shares for each level and add them up, so you get the total number of shares that you're going to need to divide the number of tokens that they are going to make available during the pre-sale. So we see here, since they're going to offer 2 billion tokens for sale, and based on the participants at the different levels, there are going to be 50,000 pool shares. You take 2 billion divided by 50,000, and that means there are going to be 40,000 tokens for every pool share. An investor can say they can calculate the number of tokens maximum they're allowed to purchase by multiplying the 40,000 tokens by the number of pool shares allocated to them. So if you were a Galactic Chad, for example, we just know that Galactic Chads get 100x pool weight, and so that's 100 pool shares times 40,000 tokens. So they're allowed for up to 4 million tokens that they can purchase in the pre-sale. I know that was confusing, probably was a little for me at first because I'm newer to this, but the math checks out, and you can go over it again here on page 8. Otherwise, wait till the launch and see how the numbers come out. We're on page 9. You have F9 and SHIB together, right? Their point here is that you can stake Shiba Inu in addition to F9, and this is homage to the fact that they are committed to serving the Shiba Inu community. I mean, they're saying they're the official launchpad for the Shibarium. So one would expect the official launchpad to allow a few SHIB maxis out there to participate without even needing to purchase F9. So they're going to allow SHIB holders exclusive access to F9 launch IDOs. I would say that the tier levels aren't as good, so if you're looking to maximize value, you should go with F9, but it's still an inclusive program. You just couldn't do stake. It says you can't stake both F9 and SHIB for, say, 2 different tier levels from the same wallet. I don't know why you would try to do both of those, but if you did, just make sure you have separate wallets for that. And then here on page 10, there's a mention of the NFTs that are associated with the Launchpad. There is a Falcon 99 series that has come out. All 99 of the NFTs are out. So if you wanted to get one, you could get it on the secondary. You can go to OpenSea and see what's available to purchase. But this is really interesting because there is utility to these NFTs associated with the Launchpad. It says here at the bottom that select NFT holders will qualify to stake their NFTs along with their F9 in order to increase their weight pool distribution on a scaled basis. I'm not really going to go into any more detail here on the NFTs because there is a separate space map for the Falcon 99 and other NFTs, Falconaut NFTs, that I can cover in another video. But just understand that these are out there. They're really cool. There is a separate community associated with the Genesis series, the Falcon 99. There's only ever going to be 99 of those. There are more NFTs coming in the Falcon. There are more Falconaut NFTs coming, but these 99 are out and they're it. And so if that kind of thing interests you, you should really go right now. Go to OpenSea right now and see what's available there. All right, finally, we're here at the last page, and we see what progress has been made. Wave 1 is done. Wave 2 is done. Wave 3 is actually done as well. The F99 NFT series is out. Etherscan's been updated. Space paper, we're reading it, so that's clearly released. CoinMarketCap, it's been listed. A lot of this has been done a while ago. This was the last thing to be done, and that was done weeks ago. And so really, we're in wave 4. This is wave 4. We're Falconauts. We don't do Roman numerals. These are rocket ships. This is the last wave of this paper, which is another reason why I think we're probably due for an update on this document. But at the time of this recording, near the end of Q4, Falcon 9 is undergoing an audit, and once the audit is complete, they're going to move forward with their first launch of Woofwork. So anyway, that's it. Hopefully this was helpful. I'm going to include a link to this document in the description. Obviously, it's worth going over it multiple times. I've gone over it a few times and I still feel kind of like an idiot bumbling through it, but very useful information on the project, and I do expect that there will be more coming soon. This is Mission Control signing off.